What is up? Caught the microphone being off there. That occasionally happens, but I don't catch it till later. So this is just a basic reading for anyone that finds it. And, words of wisdom for the month of April for all signs. Gonna get the overall energy in general for the month with the Mystical Shaman Oracle card and get right into it. So as I was shuffling, one just flipped over. Luminous Warrior, which this really makes sense right now in these times. A lot of people are healing from the events over the past couple of years. A lot of people that I wouldn't say aren't into healing, but always kind of replaced one thing with another, or buried their pains, are actually realizing they need to heal, or different ways that they can heal. Spirituality is turning into a big thing. A lot of people are asking questions now, as they should, instead of just believing the information provided. So we'll get right into it with the tarot reading. It's like guidance advice for the world, the month of April. Okay. Poetic justice. So I also feel like in this time, astrologically, huge Pluto return, which is getting poetic justice for some things that we've done in our past 200 years of history. Stuff that we didn't even know needed to be balanced or justified. Some of us, for some of us, we did, especially Native Americans, African Americans. If you look into it, Russia, that was the brick wall that Napoleon ran into. That was the brick wall that the Nazis ran into. That's a brick wall that human traffickers are running into now. Please do your research on what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, and just wish everyone that is on the right side of things, not countries, everyone's that's on the right side of things, and everyone that is suffering unjustifiably gets their peace. Because things aren't as dry cut as Russia being the bad guy, or Ukraine being innocent in all that they do. I mean, come on. The apple branch. Yeah, that being said, Russia is helping Ukraine in ways that we're not being told, that we may never be told. I've brought it up before. When you see a lot of these refugees, people don't know these refugees, some of them are locked in brothels and trafficked, and had been for years, and separated from their families and children, that the only reason they're free right now is because of what's happening, ironically. And if you question why do all these refugees fear being trafficked, it's because some of them have been victims of trafficking in Ukraine for longer than me or you know. Okay, we need to help them. The Holy Stone, they just want to be protected. And a lot of people, they don't want to hear this, that doesn't affect me. I hear this, well, it affects us as a species. Okay, this trafficking thing's gotten way too big. The U.S. government we are part of the problem, okay? We're taking down a lot of sex trafficking things here in the U.S. Russia's taking down a lot of sex trafficking things, and it might be the reason why the U.S. and Russia will bump heads. It's not going to just be politics and geopolitics and land and power. Okay, there's some not so right people in this world, and that's coming to light. pattern of Dom. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us have known this ever since, the scandals with the Queen and her family came up. And it goes that far back. Queen Elizabeth, the royal family. Two of time. Like, some people choose to look away, thinking that things like this don't affect them. And there's going to be other people that choose to get involved. They release the narrative. They don't like anything that goes against that narrative, especially here in the US, because like I said, we're part of the real ugly narrative. So of course we want you to believe, Putin's crazy, he's going on a bender and wants more land to expand, and yes, there needs to be a system of checks and balances, because when someone feels they're doing something righteous, like, stirring the pot in a country that has really been abusing their people for a long time, he might push it too far. But, at the same time, there's for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For as much as Putin has cut up, Elon just started firing back. And, I know we think Elon, he makes cars and he makes rockets. Well, in order to propel a rocket, you have to know how to make, A-bombs and stuff. So, Elon does make weapons of mass destruction. And he is capable of firing back if Putin does decide to drop a satellite on us and create balls of fire and shrapnel damage. The Banshee Crone. We don't know also as a country, this is not our land. I don't care if you were born here. That doesn't make it our land. All of Canada and the US, the Americas, belong to Mexican Americans and Native Americans, Indians to be improper, and we slaughtered them, and the British and English came in, and we now call ourselves United States citizens and Canadians. Well, that blood, those are two spiritual practicing cultures, Native Americans and African Americans. Don't think all that blood was shed without them cursing Britain and England's name. And now Pluto, it was unfortunate. I didn't personally come over here swinging and maiming people and claiming this land. My family, my bloodline, I have Cherokee, Blackfoot, Irish, African American blood. I have blood in my veins that says I'm from here, and I have blood in my veins that say I don't. I just don't know if my family forced themselves upon Native Americans and African Americans back then, or if they didn't. I know my dad's white, my mom's black, and there was no force there. But, we don't get to pick who the curse takes or how life balances this shit out, but blood was spilled. It's just when it comes to certain religions, Christianity, Catholicism, all the blood they spilled, eventually that is going to come back and reveal itself for what it is. Not every religion had war. Not every religion spilled blood to convince people to become of their faith. I'm personally a pagan. People like to think when pagans sacrificed stuff, it was like children on that. No, at most they sacrificed some food, or they would go on a hunt and sacrifice an animal that later would feed the whole tribe. These rituals didn't start becoming dark and twisted until somebody else tried to make it that way, or actually pursued it that way. Being Wiccan isn't new. It's paganism reborn. Paganism predates a lot of stuff. a lot of pagans were slaughtered to try to they wanted to know the truth of that religion, and we wouldn't tell them. To this day, we wouldn't tell them. A lot of that stuff spread through word of mouth in Wales and stuff. Like, they protected their culture-based religion to the death from Christians and Catholics, and still do today. Like, they've been denied. I hate to say it, but that's just the way that is. And eventually, one day, Christians and Catholics will pay for that. I mean, there's a lot of Christian and Catholic churches and organizations being brought down for being involved in human trafficking of children and all kinds of stuff, too. Poetic justice. You don't ever hear about that in pagan or Wiccan stuff. Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like this right there, that's usually my having a child card. I feel like this is like the outing of the world, that there also are mothers out there. I've seen the documentaries where they willingly give their child up for money. Because in the countries they live in, they don't have the money to raise a child anyway. And I try to be non-judgmental with it, but they don't care what happens to the child after. They don't even try to get to know the child. That's why they don't give the child a legitimate name. It's a thing. It's merchandise. There's a reader that mentioned it before. A company is going to lose thousands and thousands of merchandise, and I don't even know if she knew she was channeling all these refugee kids finally being free from Ukraine. And that it was big in Ukraine. Selling the children from your womb was sometimes, it seems, or selling the womb in itself. Like, no woman should feel like that's her only means to financial success because she's living in a man's world. It's just, the world ain't right as it is, so I appreciate the shake up. It doesn't mean you condone anything that's happening, but honestly, before that, we weren't condoning that either. Like, just pray for the innocent lives that have been touched in horrible ways. They find healing and happiness. The Holy Stone and protection. The Holy Stone, protection from this energy. This devil is chaos. Selling your babies, making a deal with the devil. Selling yourself. I know what these traffickers and stuff say, how they greet each other over there. No one will say it. Hail, Satan. That's what they say. Some churches, you wouldn't believe that's what they praise. They say one thing in public, but behind closed doors, they value this character. Not the other way around. Not what they tell you. I like to say Hangman all the time that it's upside down. What they actually got you worshipping, like, people don't understand, like, bread, wine, yeast, number one cause of cancer, and they want you to eat your daily bread. They tell you that. They tell you to do something that's bad for you as a woman. It's been rewritten several times by men. Back in the day, it even was quoted that divine is divine. The other G-O-D is G-O-D, and divine is everything else that you don't recognize or call divine is a lesser god, a demigod. Divine doesn't have a name. You should learn that by now. That divine light does not have a name. It does not go by God or Shiva or anything else. And whatever path you choose to walk, higher path, you don't have to go praising that or fighting about that or convincing this or that person of that. Just because a tarot reader says God, don't believe they're not behind the scenes doing devilish things. Most of the time, it guarantees they are. Why would they say it so much? Why would they need to make it known? Just because you say something that makes you a good person? Actions, not words. What do you do that says you're a good person? The Banshee Crone. Or are you just cursing yourself every time you verbally lie to your audience? The Banshee Crone strength. And I've said this, we're going to have to have a lot of strength and a lot of discernment to get to the truth of the past. I've been studying 1,000 years of history off and on for about a month now to know what I know, to even know that in 200 and 300 AD, the people that were writing and preaching the Bible, and go research it yourself, go through some documentary videos, but it was said in 200, 300 AD that the popular belief was Bible worshipping Christians were evil because the Bible at that point had been changed so many times, it didn't even mean the same thing it initially meant. 90% of it was already changed to blasphemy. So they believed those that worshipped at home and kept their faith private, those were the ones that really connected to divine, and the people that worshipped the book, they were lost. And that's coming from the people, like the people that created it, the people that supported it, the people that preached it then. Here we are 1700, 1800 years later. That same Bible's mass produced, and those people are the ones pointing the fingers at people, saying nasty things, cursing people in the name of all other gods and religions. Does that sound right to you? Or does that sound like the devil in disguise? We all know the devil loves disguises. He's hiding in your own church. That's it.